Hey everyone, I'm Aaron Potratz.
And I'm Nathan Hawkins.
We are the Shrink Think
Podcast,
Podcast.
baby.
Enjoy the show. And so it's this training process that people have to go through with another person.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Let me add also that for our case, I have to mention that we have to distinguish the group therapy and the individual therapy. Okay. My focus was on group as opposed to individual. Yes, I still receive individuals in my office, but my passion is where people come together and help one another.
Right.
And the power of that togetherness, the discovery of the commonness. And as you can imagine, having been to Sudan, South Sudan, you know that in African countries, most people are communal oriented. People doing together. The mere act of shaking hands in a group and discovering, hey, you are still alive, contributed somehow on the healing process. The discussion and understanding together that what happened was not their intention. It was wrong choices they made because of the politicians who manipulated them for their own means or ends or interest. They say, oh, it's not about us. Oh, we've lived together for years. Why would we kill each other? But we're happy that we're now alive. We've survived. But the idea is we will not do it again. Now we'll make better choices because now we know that we will not allow the politicians to divide again, because they divide us, we get killed, they fly out to Europe and send their children to schools outside Burundi, and here we are in the misery, with these lame and handicaps. No, we cannot go on like this. Let's change our way of life and the agreement. Now, with this group process, why is it very, very important? It's because it's also built on the African philosophy of Ubuntu. Now, Ubuntu means I am because you are. Without you, I am not. Which means I need you just like you need me. And therefore, what would I benefit if I killed you? Because I will also die. So these concepts that are already embedded in our communities, they have to be brought about as we do the healing process. So the healing process is really, really a journey, as opposed to the treatment, where you treat and you go.
And they kick you out. You've now been treated.
You've now been treated,
well.
you finish, you close you write the treatment plan,
Summary.
the summary.
It's interesting too that you're talking about groups, and America is very much an individualized culture. However, I've seen people that come to therapy and they have, we encourage them to, and they get involved in support groups, or they get connected with several people in their lives that are like little communities. Maybe it's a group of moms, or maybe somebody joins a church community, or people go to Alcoholics Anonymous or Al-Anon, or just whatever the group is. It's just interesting, like, even for an individualized culture like America, that people function better and have more success when they are together, when they're in groups.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I was thinking is the difference between the curative and management approaches. That a lot of you therapists out there might be thinking in those terms, but I don't think that, like, for example, David is not necessarily talking about, okay, this is how we manage it. This is how we just kind of be, and then we're going to call that good. Like the way that you might be thinking of like dealing with a psychosis like schizophrenia, and you're like, well, we're doing the best we can, we're going to help you keep living your life and being somewhat productive in society, but you're probably never going to actually be whole. You're never going to be better. You're going to always have this problem. Whereas the other way of cure here would be, okay, you go to the doctor, your leg's broken, you put a cast on it, you are cured, your leg is now better, you are back to normal. And where you're coming from, and what the violence that came in and divided the community and focused everybody on their individual survival, that what you've done is you've learned, like, okay, we have to back up, we have to go back to some history, we have to learn some things, and we have to use the community to actually heal the community, to put us back into the community.
Yes. Well, the other idea of treatment, I have a picture of, like, I have a wound on my leg, then an informed doctor or not experienced doctor will think, I'm going to put a band-aid and then have that wound heal.
Yeah, it'll be better.
Yeah, it will be
just
better.
Put a band-aid on.
Yeah, because there's something in the band-aid that would
be magic.
Protect from the viruses outside.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but then he might not know there are viruses already inside, which will cause the infection and the rotting of the thing. But for us in Burundi, we know that it's so painful. If you came to our group therapy, you hear a lot of weeping and sadness. It's terrible. It's hard. But for us, it's like you have to open that wound, clean it, talk about it, so to speak, and then together, care for it, the caring for one another, the empathy that takes place in the group is a kind of medicine that we have found work very, very, very much. And for example, we have adopted an approach called healing of memories. Now, this is not my invention. It's adapted from South Africa. A man called Michael Lapsley, who was, is he alive? He was sent by his parish in New Zealand to work in Johannesburg at the time when there was apartheid. He's a white person, and he was expected to align with white causes of reinforcing apartheid. But when he got there, he found the African National Congress, ANC, was struggling and was fighting against apartheid with Nelson Mandela at the head. Of course, at that time he was imprisoned. I think he was imprisoned like 27 years in Robben Island. Anyway, this man, Michael Lapsley, Father Michael Lapsley, said, I think the ANC is right. I'm on their side. I don't like how whites are treating Africans, blacks in South Africa. And of course, he created enmity. And one day, he got a letter bomb that blew both of his hands and one eye. So after he survived, I think he might have gone through my my experience and said, well, I could have been killed, so what should I do? So he came up with this great approach or protocol he called healing of memories. We are finding this now a very big way to address the hurts in Burundi, because it allows people to come together and speak honestly, whether they are perpetrators or offenders or simply victims. And I'm saying simply because the vulnerability is already there, but we found that the perpetrators and the victims are all vulnerable. They are all victims. For example, I remember one time we were talking about a case of a police who was tortured somebody, and he had put him in a hole with water. And we thought that was very, very cruel. And we said, why would you do this? And he said, I did it because they also put me there. So it's like the hurt breeds hurt, and he was doing exactly what they were doing for him. So he was also a victim somehow. So we found that the healing memories, where people bring their commonalities and come together and journey together, support one another, and empathize with one another, encourage one another, kind of what I've seen Sandra do here, because I've participated in some of her groups, and I've heard one group member encouraging the other, say, hey, guy, I have been there, my friend, you will make it. You know, those words are so very powerful when they are spoken genuinely, and of course with a good supervision of caring, and this is exactly what we're doing, and we see that this is probably something that people can learn from us, because we're all human beings. As you say, Aaron, you can say that even in this country the group work can work. The group can work, because I've seen it sometimes.
At our core, we are all human beings, and just because humans in your country have different styles or rituals or whatever, they're still human beings at our core, and we still need each other and relate to each other the same way.
Right.
I think I know we've got to close up because of time, but one of the things I was realizing is, in order to be a good counselor, you have to be threatened with death. I'm just kidding, but we got you here, David, and you transformed basically an entire country and have been awarded by the continent of Africa, is what it seems like. And then this other Aaron's going on. I've just gotten passionate.
I'm just trying to help.
But no, and all kidding aside though, one thing that occurs to me is that there's different types of cultures, right? But the two that come to my mind off the top are, like, in America, we are a doing culture. That would also, I would think, be true for like China as an example. And then there's being cultures, right? Mm-hmm. And as you're sharing, I was thinking, it might be from a therapy standpoint, if you're a therapist trying to invite people into a process of healing, it may be, if you're working with clients that are more in a being type of culture, you're probably going to need to use the vehicle of group therapy. If you have not thought of that, maybe you're like, I know that. I already know that's what I do. But if you haven't already thought of that, then you probably should think of that and consider more of a group environment than an individual environment, because it won't make sense to them as much anyway, coming from more of a culture that's naturally more communal and sharing, which is not as true in the United States. But like as Aaron's saying, it kind of almost doesn't matter, because we think in terms it's the opposite. I'll go do this by myself. I'll go and learn this therapy thing, and then people will figure out that I'm better, or I'll just be better, and they should recognize it. Whereas when they go to group therapy, they experience all of it at once, and it can be more corrective, because you can have the feedback immediately of like, no, you're actually not that different, man. You haven't changed at all.
And it's experiential. That's the point.
Right.
And also you have a whole country that has been traumatized. How do you do individual therapy?
Right. Yeah. One person at a time. 2,000 years later.
Yeah, which could be also okay, because at least even for us, we know that we're not going to cure the whole country, but at least we are planting the seed that will yield, fruit in maybe the next generation. But at least we have done our part. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, there's this issue of how can I frame it? People continuing their process, as opposed to just being in the group on that particular one time.
Right, like owning their journey.
Yes,
Like,
and continuing. For example, those who come to such groups, we put them in what we call support groups. And the support groups are groups of people who decide on what to do to continue their processes. Like, for example, some choose to do quilting and sewing with pedal machine. As you know, the right hand and left hand hemispheres, they have to continue with trauma.
right.
The left hand is down, that kind of thing. But then to communicate, it's kind of what you are doing with bilateral
simulation.
That's right, EMDR.
So MDR. So things that they are doing with all hands and legs, and then they not only help the mental health, they also raise their self-esteem. For example, they are able to sell what they have produced and earn some money and
Have some confidence.
and see tomorrow. As you know, one of the indicators of trauma is that there's no tomorrow.
Right.
There's no hope for tomorrow. You give people seeds to plant, they'll eat it, because why plant when they know they're not to harvest? So it simply means that making people hopeful that children will grow and things will be different and they have a role to play, and the cycle of violence can be stopped with good choices. This happens in that group setting because they encourage one another and say, hey, have you planted your seeds? How far have you gone with this project of quilting or basket? How much did you sell? Oh, maybe you should raise it up because now the economy has gone high, and of course Burundi, as being a poor country, it also implies that there have been a lot of devaluation of the Burundi currency, which means things have gone up, which means if you are selling this on this product, you have to raise up the price for it to fit the economical conditions. Now in the group, they share about all these things and go on together as a community.
So David, I don't know if this is possible, but you are reaching the entire world with the Shrink Think podcast. So, is there one thing that you're hoping people would take away from your mind, your work? Like, what would you want them to know?
I would like them to know two things. One, on an individual, people listen to us, that healing is the way to go. If there's no healing, there can be no development. There can be no social cohesion. And even peace. No healing, no peace. This is my big takeaway. Now, on the collective way, I would like people to join our cause. Maybe some will say, oh, David has been speaking about how do we reach out to him? Come on board. Healing is the way. Let's do it together. We are all human beings. We need one another. And the humanity, the Ubuntu philosophy, transcends barriers of countries or races or gender. We're all, as you said, Nathan, it's in the core of us. We are that.
Right.
We are that. So why don't we dwell on it and build on it and to make better choices and to be effective in our ways of life and be successful? Yeah, it's possible. So I want to end with a positive note that it is possible when we are all into this together and never ever give up.
Okay.
I love that. And I think I've got a theme song for all of this.
No, you don't.
It goes, no healing, no peace. Right? Like, let's repurpose the words. I think
Bob Marley.
Yeah, exactly. I think it works.
Well, if you want to reach out to David, you can contact him through lifecounselingandtherapy.org. Click on Life with Thars. That is lifecounselingandtherapy.org. and then click the link Life with Thars. David, thank you so much for joining us, and
Thank
it's
you.
been cool seeing you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. And Sam.
I have to
I
say.
was like, you were gonna say it. I was like, I'm gonna. Nope, you beat me to it.
Yes, I did. Man, that was good.
That was really good. And I
Was that like 7 episodes? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, probably. feel like we could have kept going, except I was like, the time, and I just have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, same. That's
It was
me
great.
too.
Hold on,
Oh,
wait,
wait,
hold on,
yeah.
you're
I,
always,
just,
like,
I
trying to
know,
clean up
but I'm
before-
always trying to go to
we're
the
not
bathroom.
even-
that's what, I'm stuck with wires.
Maybe you should record in a diaper so that you can just finish the episode. Have a great day.
Why didn't I think of that? I should have thought of that a long time ago.
Okay, we're
Diaper
good.
feels-
You can try it.
Hit the stop.
That would be awful.